Indian football team has never beaten any top 50 side.
Saudi Arabia that has done the job.
It is Australia who take the 3 points.
Break India's heart.
And they have always ranked above 90. It's not just about poor infrastructure or severe incompetence of the governments, because maybe then African countries or the South American ones wouldn't be able to produce such talents. So, despite having 200 million football fans and a rich history in the game, why does the country find it so tough on the global pitch? Welcome to the channel and the story of the problems in football in India. The major issue that Indian football is currently facing lies in its domestic football league, which is also known as Indian Super League or ISL. You see, football always has been pretty much popular in India. In fact, it's right behind cricket, but never because of its own football leagues or its national team to some extent. In fact, the country did not have its national league until 1996. But that league didn't change much of a thing. The league was pretty disappointing and abysmal for a country like India. So in the last decade, a new league was born, financially backed by celebrities and top business persons, that promised to revolutionize Indian football by attracting top talents from all around the world. Although it was unofficial back then in 2014, it still became the 4th most attended football league in the world in its very first season. In 2016, ISL was proposed to be the top tier football league in India, but the idea wasn't entertained though. But 2 years later, in 2018, the tournament did replace the knockout cup competition of the country, the Federation Cup. And finally in 2022, the ISL was announced to become the sole top tier league from the 22-23 season onwards. But a problem has arisen, a severe one. In spite of all these quick successes within 8 to 9 years, the league is constantly failing to attract fans. The average attendance in the stadiums has now dropped to 40% of the first season. So what could be the possible reason for that? Well, see, all the clubs playing in the ISL are more like franchises, like MLS teams or IPL teams in cricket, which are owned by famous cricketers or celebrities or businessmen. These are not exactly people's clubs, so the locals were never really attached to them. What did I mean by that? Okay, let me explain. Most football clubs in the world traditionally have been owned by the fans themselves. Even though most of the English Premier League clubs and some of the other top European clubs are currently owned by some individuals, but initially the fans were the ones overseeing the operations within the clubs for decades. Whereas all the Bundesliga clubs or clubs like Barcelona or Real Madrid are still owned by the fans. So the game is already rooted to their culture, just like cricket in India or baseball in Japan or American football in the USA. So, Indian football has 2 ways forward to develop the culture. Either the league can adopt the model of Saudi Premier League, throwing a sudden truckload of money to acquire aging superstars in its own league. In fact, ISL also kinda did the same thing in the earlier seasons. But that thing seems unsustainable looking at the downfall of Chinese and Russian leagues, and Saudi Arabia also seeming to have been struggling. Or there is another way. The league can adopt what Japanese football did with its J-League. I'll explain it briefly. See, in the early 90s, Japanese league was also facing kinda similar problem like India's previous domestic league. The league was declining drastically. So in 1993, a new professional league was formed with more resources, named J-League. For the first 3 seasons, it was a massive success for both the country and the teams until 1996. The league started losing its viewership and followings. So the management understood the devil in the system and came up with 2 solutions. First, they introduced 100-year vision, in which they aimed to make 100 professional association football clubs within 100 years. And most importantly, the league encouraged the clubs to promote football and non-football related sports and health activities, to acquire local sponsorships rather than global brands, and to build excellent relationships with their hometowns at the grassroots level. As it turned out, clubs started getting local support more and more, and football culture as a whole grew in prominence. And finally in 2002, hosting the FIFA World Cup brought Japan football into the world map. Since then, Japan's ranking has consistently improved time after time. Even in recent years, they have even beaten giants like Germany or Spain comfortably. So it's pretty safe to assume that the model could work in Indian football as well if properly implemented.
what India can learn from Japan grassroots football?
Emphasize more on the grassroots, have more people working in the grassroots at a younger age. The football population will grow and also the level of football will grow.
So where does this leave us? The country is struggling to grow a football culture. Although some parts of India traditionally have a passion for the game, but slowly it is also fading away mainly because of the Indian football team's downward rollercoaster ride after the 50s or 60s, and also partly due to cricket's sudden rise after the 1983 World Cup win. And since the inception of IPL, cricket has been pouring money all around, so rewards of being a cricketer are too damn big. And this is where the ISL teams should step up and focus on the proper grassroots development and engage with the local communities to foster a connection with the game. In this digital era, social media has emerged as a powerful tool to increase fan engagement and raise brand awareness. But if you look closely, those football clubs or the national team's social media handles are not doing a very good job. A few matchday posts and a few sneak peeks into the training session, that's it. Barring the first 2 or 3 seasons, the marketing of the league also has been pretty poor, and unfortunately the same also happened to the national team matches too. Some of the matches haven't even broadcasted properly. The reason is apparent. These matches generate much less revenue. Maybe only some drastic development in the Indian football can change such scenario, isn't it? Speaking of drastic development, Indian football can even follow the footsteps of Morocco. You see, in the last Men's World Cup, they had more foreign players in their team who just had Moroccan origin. In fact, 14 of the 26 were foreign-born players who have been playing in Europe. And the result? From being the first team getting knocked out in the 2018 World Cup to becoming the semi-finalist in Qatar. But sadly, the Indian government doesn't allow such diaspora or dual citizenship. If someone wants to play for India, they would have to give up their other nationality. And then, they can't even play in the top European leagues due to India's low ranking. Quite a conundrum, right? While the online viewership of the ISL sees a modest increase of 10 to 25% each season, English Premier League's viewership in India has grown 3 times in comparison to the previous season. So capturing the market won't be easy either. The football fanbase in India is over 200 million. But those fans should turn up for the games in the stadiums. The more spectators come to see the game, the more it will expand and inspire future generations. And for that reason, spending in marketing and building a community is the very first thing to do. Currently, the ISL clubs are bleeding money and the dates are surging season after season. So unless you cannot turn your locals into your fans and ultimately to your loyal consumers, then the future of Indian football is not so bright. By the time I'm making this video, Indian football is currently playing some promising football in the AFC Asian Cup. But this time, they need continuity and consistency with a clear vision and proper support from the government and the fans. Because their performance will be the ultimate pool for everyone, be it fans or investors or advertisers. But if another downfall happens, it will be too costly to bear.